Well, welcome everyone to this month's CoatingsTalk brought to you by Dataforma. I am your host, Megan Ellsworth, here at CoatingsCoffeeShop.com, and I'm really excited to have Brian here with us talking about job site productivity. Just so everyone knows, this is being recorded, and it will be on CoatingsCoffeeShop.com under the Read, Listen, Watch navigation within 24 to 48 hours. So you'll see it up there, and you should get an email from Zoom so you can send it out and rewatch it to your heart's content. Um, to dive right in, Brian, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
I've known your mother for, gosh, 15 years, and we
Amazing.
finally started working with the coffee shop brands. And just in case there's any other vendors out there or people that may be thinking of using it, it's been fantastic. We love the people, we love all the content, and we've been extremely happy. So there's a free little
Oh.
plug.
Oh, thanks, Brian. Well, I really appreciate that. I'm excited to chat with you. Can you tell us a little bit about you and a little bit about Dataforma?
All right. I am the senior vice president at Dataforma, which sounds very fancy, but I promise it is not. Um, I got started with Dataforma. I knew the owner of a commercial roofing company since I was a very young kid. I was good friends with his son. So I would mow the lawn, I would sweep up the shop. As we got older, we would work there, actually work on the roofs during the summer.
Yeah.
And then I interned there during college. You can see I went to a very, very fancy college, which I, just so everyone knows, I tried to leave that off the bio, but they put it in. So that wasn't me.
You
Um,
know.
and I love the roofing company because it was like you're outside, you're inside, you're traveling. It's never the same. It's not boring. And then at that roofing company is where they came up with Dataforma. So Dataforma, for anyone that doesn't know, we've evolved a lot over the years. We're software, so it's kind of a planned and good thing to change, right? There's new technology, there's new needs. We came out as really the number one service management software for commercial contractors. But now we've gotten into a lot more of, of course, we do document storage and bid tracking,
Right.
but actually tracking production jobs, which is a lot of what we're going to get into today.
Yeah.
But that's what Dataforma is. So if you're looking for a software where it's like I need to manage my clients and my addresses and all my guys in the field, that's what Dataforma does. And speaking of, I'll give you a little plug. We'll probably do another one of these in a few months. We're even now building a sales module in like a true sales module into Dataforma. So hopefully we can do another one in a few months because we have new functionality to show.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's exciting. Yeah, we would love to chat again. Um, so why would you say tracking your daily productivity is critical for specifically coatings contractors?
Well, yeah, because so this is, and it applies a lot to pretty much all commercial contractors, but when you're out there on the job, this is where we make or break our money, right? We've looked at the job. Like, let's say we went out there, we spent a few hours on site looking at it, and then we go back to the office, we spend a few hours bidding it, right? Maybe we have a bidding software that we pay for. We have all these hours and all these other hard costs. We have trucks that we use to get out there. Now we need to recoup that money. So I bid the job, and let's say it's $100,000. Well, the number or the amount of material we're going to use on that job is the same for everyone. But if my guys out there on the actual job can get done 4 or 6 or 10 hours faster than I had bid, well, that is now all extra money that we have compared to that. Maybe I planned on 15% profit. Well, now I made 25% profit. So keeping up every single day with where are we? Did we hit the pace that we thought we were going to hit? Is there something that's hurting us? Are there little areas that we're better at that we didn't know? I mean, that's really where we can make more money. Well, first of all, we got to make sure that we make the money we planned on. But
Right.
this is also where now we can make more money. Like I remember we had a gentleman at my old roofing company, and he was gruff and he was tough, but he was the best at figuring out how are we going to stage and do this job? And like for us, it was we never want to have to touch something twice. So if
Yeah.
we're picking up ISO boards off the ground and moving them onto the roof, well, we better not be putting them in a place where later we're going to have to move them again so we
Yeah.
can, tear off and put back. So it's all those little pieces of being able to track that in the field and daily, right? Because that's the old school way is I would see a paper sheet at the end of the week, but by now it's too late to fix that error. So
Right.
we're trying to help contractors find ways where I can see it right now, right
Yeah.
today, where we were.
Yeah. Kind of like a live stream in a sense. Like
Yeah,
you're
well, and that's
seeing,
it's definitely getting there. So that's
yeah,
awesome. I can't say whom, but a couple contractors lately, because we can use softwares together now. So
right.
in Dataforma, they have a link. So in that job in Dataforma, there's a link to the camera. So anytime one of their staff is looking at that job in Dataforma, click a link, even if it's on their phone, boom, I can see the cameras on the job site and what's going on.
Wow.
Pretty neat.
That's really cool. That's huge. Well, okay, so I think also for coatings contractors, there's so much um productivity that can be expedited in a sense. There's things that you can make improvements on. And so that's so important in the sense of finding these kind of easy fixes through the cameras, through like all the data is just so important. So that's wow, I'm excited. Um, so what would you say makes multi-job organization challenging for contractors running these multiple jobs, big jobs at a time?
Yeah, well, and this is tricky because this is the way a lot of companies work. Many of us now work in multiple states, right?
Right.
Maybe we have multiple offices.
Yep.
So, I mean, the old school method I remember is you would wake up at like 4 or 5 in the morning. You would drive to that job 2 or 3 hours away so you could be there when the crews start and
Yep.
watch the job for a couple hours just to see, okay, how is it going? Right? Because I need to be here, but it is a 3 hour drive away. So let's
Yeah.
watch it for a couple hours. Well, now it's almost lunchtime, but now I have to drive 3 hours back to the office, right? Just to document what was said or to talk to people, or maybe I have other bids to work on now. So, like our work, it's not always consolidating these little areas, right?
Yep.
So it's a lot of travel, it's a lot of manpower to try to cover this. And even then, like we had the old school, what was it? It was like an S drive. I don't, you're so young. Do you even know what that is? Like
I
the shared drive at the office. So we would
Yes,
have
yes, 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 yes.
yeah, like our own server. So it's like, okay, cool. Well, now I have to take all this information and upload it to the S drive. But there was a guy named Norm, and Norm never like uploaded things the same way as everyone else. So if you're looking for the Norm's files, you had to think like Norm. So all this just became an issue. I mean, we would even have Megan multiple times where we found out we had 2 or 3 estimators working on the same bid because we didn't know because we were at different offices or we were never in the office together. So all
Oh
of that just
no.
becomes such a waste for like that's where the owner of the company, I remember just flipping out, like, what the heck are we doing? I
Yeah.
cannot believe that we're doing this crap. And here's one that's very related, but seems kind of simple. We had a multi-building owner, they were a consultant that we worked with. And they said to us one time, we never know when a bid is coming from you because it looks different every single time. So we're going to touch on this later with reports, but they even said, hey, with your proposals, can you make them look the same every time, please? And I know that sounds crazy, but when we have people running around all over the place and in different offices now, that can actually still be an issue, even though, it's 2025 and, we can just about launch a nuclear weapon from our iPhones.
That is so true and terrifying. Um, so I I love the S Drive comparison. That's crazy. How would you say, I mean, obviously it's a very big difference, but how would you say Dataforma compares to an S Drive?
Well, it's the ultimate shared S drive. Like I
Yeah,
used to joke that we're like Dropbox, we just stink at marketing, right?
yeah,
Because you do have complete access. So And what's really nice about the way we structure Dataforma is, and this is why we're really good for commercial contractors. I mean, we
Yeah.
certainly have residential clients. Probably 25% of our clients are
Okay.
residential. But the one huge difference that we have over nearly every one of our competitors is if there's Hilton Hotels, right? So Hilton Hotels is one client, right? Now they may have 1,000 buildings that I work on for them. And they may have 10 or 15 office locations where they want me to send an invoice. Because oftentimes, like if I'm a contractor, just because I'm doing the work at this Walmart, right, in Fayetteville, Arkansas,
Yep.
that invoice is most likely not going to that building, in Fayetteville, Arkansas. It's going to
Right.
another location. So we got very lucky. I say we, I was like 18 when they built this, but I came along shortly thereafter. So I say when we built this, that we had that structure built into it where it's one large client, infinite number of offices, and then infinite number of buildings or sites that we work on. So if I want to save a document in Dataforma, I could save it directly to Hilton Hotels, the client. I could save it to the building file, like the 1729 H Street Hampton Inn Hotel in Washington, D.C. Because, hey, this document is specific to this address. Maybe it's the roof
Yep.
plan itself. I could save that document to a work order. So if we had to go out to do a repair or a warranty callback, maybe that document is specific to that work order. So it gets attached to that permanently. Or if it's a big coatings job, I may have 400 documents in the end that are attached to that project. I have daily update pictures. I have spec details from the manufacturers. So not only can we save them, but we can save them in the proper locations. And then when a technician is out in the field, in the mobile app, they can actually upload or download any of those directly from their mobile app.
Oh,
So if you
amazing.
have, yeah, so like you have really important PDFs or a scope of work, right? Any
Yeah.
document that you want to make available to your field technicians or even just your traveling sales staff, they
Yep.
can see from the app as well.
Okay. Well, that's amazing. I love that you showed the app too. Thanks for the little show and tell there. Um, so I mean, you've already kind of touched on this. How, does Dataforma improve multi-job project management? Let's go into how does this change their communication with clients?
Well, yeah, and there's even more here because I focus really on the documents folder.
Yeah.
So for multi-job and even contractors that have multi-office. So our
Okay.
company was itself kind of interesting. We had our commercial roofing company. We had a separate sheet metal company, which is fairly common for tax purposes, that that's a
Yep.
separate entity, right? But then we
Hmm.
also had two office locations. So we didn't want Office B to always see what Office A was doing, right? Or vice
Yeah.
versa. But the owner needed to be able to run reports on either office or the whole company, right? So that was built into
Yep.
Dataforma. And then we purchased another company at the Eastern Shore of Maryland. So they had to be incorporated and folded in too. So we had every single weird situation you could think of, right? And we had
Yeah.
different types of employees. Some were union, some weren't. So what's lucky for our contractors is when we run into these situations, it's already baked into Dataforma, right? Like, cool, that was, and then on top of that, we were one of the original 12 Tech to America companies. So yeah, we're one of the original 12. So
Wow.
Tecta isn't an owner at all of Dataforma, but when Dataforma was being built, we knew that deal was happening. So not only did we build it to be scalable for our company, but scalable enough for Tecta. So if you
Got
look
it.
at that top 100 list every year from roofing contractor, we always have like 40 or 50 of the contractors that use Dataforma because it scales really well. But also, the majority of our contractors are $5 to $10 million a year in total revenue because that's the average size of a contractor. Again, be it coatings or HVAC or roofing, or electrical or plumbing, right? That's the
Yeah.
average size of a contractor. So,
Wow. Yeah.
yep. And then, like you said here on this slide, so everyone, just so you know, when your technicians are out there, they're adding their pictures, right? Here's all my
Love.
pictures. So you have that stuff every day. And then you do have your own little dashboard. So you can always be seeing, and that dashboard is customizable by each user. So if I run the Oklahoma City office, when I log in, I can see how many bids are we working on at the Oklahoma City office? How many bids are pending? Which bids do we have to follow up on still? Which jobs are we waiting for the materials? Which jobs are we waiting for them to check to see if we did everything right? You have your own dashboard. And then if I'm like an estimator or salesman, I just see my jobs. Hey, Brian, you have to bid these 5. They got assigned to you. So that's how that's what we actually used it for too at the beginning. Was,
Wow.
hey, I need to know who the heck is working on what, so
Yep.
that there's not just a shared Excel sheet that never gets updated, you know?
Yeah, that's great too. Like you said, for the people in the field, they're uploading stuff. And then for the people in the office, I love that you can assign people to
Yep.
accounts. So like you said at the very beginning, you're not having two people bidding the same estimate or, bidding the same project.
Oh my gosh, you just reminded me. So we have another piece of new functionality, like you said, with
Ooh.
assigning, called the task manager. So for
Ooh.
each job, like, hey, Megan, you got to order the materials, right? So Dataforma, on your mobile app, it'll tell you, hey, here's all the stuff you have to do. And it'll text you and annoy you and text you until you do it. And then I can
That's
also
awesome.
say, or like your mother could say, hey, I'm Megan's boss. If she's 3 days behind, you need to text me so I know she's behind. Don't make me go and look and see. So then once you say, okay, I've done this, maybe they say, hey, Brian, you're the one that's supposed to go get the certificate of insurance or the permit or whatever. So you set up all those different tasks that have to be done. And now it's pinging people across the country whenever they're up. So thank
Wow.
you for the reminder. I almost forgot.
That's awesome. Well, especially letting, the manager know or, the boss, whoever, know that, hey, this still hasn't been done and you need to check in with your person. That's huge because I mean, accountability is everything for people because without accountability, I mean, would stuff get done? I don't know.
And like I said at the beginning, with the evolution, like contractors, we're so different now than we were, 22 years ago when we created Dataforma, right?
Right.
That's why now we're finally building a sales module, because back then commercial contractors kind of just bid stuff and waited to hear.
Yeah.
That's not the case anymore. So like
Right.
our clients and our prospects have made it clear to us, hey, we want you to have this. So we said, fine, we're going to build it for you.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing with like before, we would make the managers go into Dataforma and look to see where things were. It's like, well, no, everybody's running around now. Dataforma should just tell them, and each person should customize what and when Dataforma is telling them.
Yeah. Yeah. I love automation. I love having things automated, reminding me that as someone that's a little scatterbrained, that is so good for me. So that's cool that you guys
Yeah.
have that. Um, so how does Dataforma help contractors track their daily productivity? What does that look like?
So what's nice about this is we've done a couple of things that have eliminated other apps that our contractors were paying for.
Okay.
So the first one was just like a time card. So true clock in, clock out, right? There's a couple, and they're great. They're great apps. There's nothing wrong with them, but they are separate apps.
Right.
So it was one of our contractors that said, hey, our foremen are using your app for like everything. Why are you making us pay for this app where all we do is clock in and clock out? So we said, you're right. So we built in like, hey, if I'm a foreman, and again, each contractor, I guess one of the benefits of coming from the contracting business is that, we know that every contractor, while we're doing the same work, we speak differently, right? And all across the country, there's different jargon and everything's a little bit
Yep.
different. So pretty much everything is customizable in Dataforma, right?
Awesome.
You call it X, you call it X, and then if your buddy calls it Y, they call it Y. So when I log in to get hours, maybe I'm the foreman and you want me to log the hours for my whole crew. So boom, I can clock the time. But
Nice.
maybe your mom has her own contracting business and she says, nope, I want each person to log their own hours.
Yep.
Now each person can log their own hours, and we even have a discounted rate for that. So that if that user is just going to log hours, we're not going to kill you with the price.
Yeah.
But now each person is logging their hours. And another big benefit of every person doing their own hours, there's free GPS. So yeah, you could be Big Brother if you wanted to and see where they went throughout the entire day. But the real point is, every time one of your technicians logs in or out, we can see exactly where they were. So if the customer says, I don't think you were here, or I mean, there's real cases where we knew what bars our contractors would go to at the end of the day and kill an extra hour. It's like, hey, Brian, log out when you leave the job, not when you go home and then sit there for an hour. So,
Totally.
yep. And again, they're cutting out a pretty sizable cost to their company
Yeah.
to track those hours. And then those are all tied directly to that job. And we know whatever cost codes that contractor has, even if it's shop time or drive time. And then, if I'm the project manager, every single day, I see exactly where we are on hours on that job. We estimated 1,000 hours. So far, we've used 100. And then I think one of the next slides shows you can track how much of the job are we actually done. So they can enter that too. And that's the real, yeah, exactly. So perfect. Like
Yeah,
this,
let's get into the metrics.
yeah, I mean, this is the real thing. I mean, this doesn't matter if you're a coatings, mechanical, electrical. This is what everyone wants to know. Hey, I estimated this many hours and we said it was 10,000 square feet that we had to do, and I thought it was going to take us 3.5 days. Well, after day one, if we've only done 1,000 square feet for some reason and we've used X number of those hours, I know we are in trouble, right?
Yep.
And that way it's just really, really, really simple. So this came out about a year ago and our contractors have loved it because, again, it's completely customizable. All of those metrics, or those, we call them production items, that each contractor wants to track are completely customizable. And all they have to do in the field is type in a number. Today we did 30. Today we did 50. And that's how simple it is to have that information. And again, it's all because it all starts in one system. When we heard about the lead, it went into Dataforma. When we created the proposal, it was out of Dataforma, right? And then we got the job and we put those metrics in the Dataforma, and now they're using the Dataforma app. So, and the beauty is, I guess it's funny, we actually came up with Dataforma before apps. So we built the back end of the database. So it's like a true, if I run the office and I can run reports, and then apps came out and we said, oh, this is great. We didn't try to recreate the entire database, right? We said, what this app should be? It should be a tool just for the guys in the field. Like, what would I want? And that way we can keep it simple, right? Because a full website gets very complicated. Yeah. But when it's just an app, it's like, nope, just click on your job. Just click start time. So it makes it really simple for the guys in the field.
Yeah, that's great because, I mean, you want them to be spending their mental energy like towards the job, not towards figuring out the app or whatever.
Well, and we don't want them to have the excuse of, oh, I can't use this, even though they're all using Instagram and Facebook now, you know? But no, seriously, because it was made only with them in mind. And again, there's tons of uses for the office staff, but they're doing this stuff all the time. They're used to it. We would say, hey, because I think now we have 16,000 daily active field users using the Dataforma.
Wow.
Yeah. So I remember when it was, well, obviously 0 before apps.
Right.
I remember it was 100 and 400 and 500. So
wow,
it's been fun.
Wow. Well, okay. So I have a random question here. So you've said electrical, plumbing. So it's more than just roofing contractors that can use Dataforma.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
that's cool.
I think it's a great fit for any commercial contractor.
Got it.
And residential contractors, just depending on what some residential contractors just want certain pieces of functionality that we don't have. Like a lot of times it's hey, text the homeowner that our technician's on the way with the ETA and keep that up to date. Like that's something we don't offer because typically commercial contractors, like that's not a big thing for us to have. But I think any commercial contractor, because of that unique uh, many to one I talked about with Hilton hotels and multiple addresses, but all tying back to that central client, even if we're sending the invoice to a different address.
Yep.
I think that is definitely our niche because,
Yeah.
like I said, I mean, we get new mechanical and electrical and coatings people all the time, and they're typically coming from some of our same competition that we see in the roofing industry, but they've tried the ones that cater to residential, and then they try Dataforma.
Yeah. Well, so that's a good point for anybody out there listening that and watching. Hello. That I mean, you can customize it, and it's if you have HVAC as well as roofing as well. Hey, maybe you have a plumbing
Yeah.
department. I don't know. All departments of your company can use it to keep the job site maintained, productivity on top of things. So, also just want to mention for our people out there watching, if you have questions or comments, please let us know in the chat. We will take questions at the end. So, Brian, let's get into some common mistakes contractors should look out for, avoid when tracking their productivity.
Yeah, well, and it's ones people probably think of. I think I
Yeah.
would stress here how much more prevalent it probably is than you think. Like we, I can't say a name, very, very large contractor, like $1 billion a year, said, hey, we have these people, and these people go out and they perform inspections. And they're all doing it differently. So now imagine if I'm this $1 billion a year entity that's getting hundreds of these inspections a week, and they're supposed to be uniform, but they're all incredibly different. So now I have to pay people just to go through and try to retype them all just so that they're uniform and we're tracking the same data. Because some of this is very, very important, right? Here's a good one, a mechanical contractor. They say, well, we need to track this exact number every single time we go out there, because if it goes out of a range, it's out of warranty, right? So in their Dataforma database, they're able to customize that number. So any contractor that says, hey, I have a very specific thing I need, it's like, cool, we're going to build you a field so you can have that. But a lot of people are still doing so much of this on paper. And
Yeah.
so and then the problem is, so it comes back on paper and the handwriting is miserable. So then sometimes
Right.
there's problems when I take that paper and try to put it into an accounting system or a CRM, whatever it is that I'm using it. And then 2 weeks later, that technician is like, hey, like I was supposed to have 40 hours for this week. You gave me 36. It's like, well, I thought this number was that number. So now we have to go back and fix payroll. Uh,
Yep.
I mean, it truly happens all the time. And then that last one, like that's one that I am huge on. Like collecting this. If we're going to spend time capturing data, we should at least use it for something.
Yes.
I'm well known for when you go to like a nice hotel and they have like a separate gym. It's really nice, but they have a paper login. And I'm like, I'm never signing that. And the lady
Yeah.
looks at me, she goes, what do you mean you're not signing it? It's like, well, you're obviously never going to look at it. So why should I sign this? You know?
Right.
But if we have the data, like absolutely, and this was on one of the first slides, and I kind of skimmed over it. If you're using a system like Dataforma, and I'm sure some others do it too, I could see that, hey, Megan is really, really good at bidding these types of jobs. But for some reason, every time it's a job that's on a school, because that can be one of your little subtypes that's added, she doesn't get that job. Well, now I know either one, figure out what's going on with her bids on those schools, or just say, hey, you know what? I'm going to give it to Heidi. That's fine. Megan's really good at these ones. Let her do those and then let Heidi do these.
Yeah.
But again, we would never know that if it was just written down on paper or nowhere.
Right. Right. And that's so important because having your crew members in the right seat on the bus is so important to their productivity, the company's productivity, and overall like happiness
Yeah.
also, and making sure that and I think also being able to see that data and analyze it in that way can make the the employee feel like, oh, they're recognizing like, oh yeah, I'm struggling in this area, but I'm doing really well in this area, and they're congratulating me on that. So I think that's such a good point, is being able to look at this data and use it how you need to, not just what everyone else is doing.
Yeah, and the last part of that, and this is where I stress that, Dataforma covers so many different aspects. Even if we have, like, maybe we have a separate time card app and a production app and a CRM, well, then are you really taking the time to push that data together somewhere to
Right.
look at it? And
Yeah.
I will openly admit, I think Dataforma is fantastic. I don't think it's, for exactly everyone, but I think we are the best. And I don't think that because I work there. I work here because I think that. I've been around for 18 years doing this. And like there's, parts, there may be some picture apps that have slightly better functionality than us because they only do pictures. And there
Yeah.
may be like this type of app, but it's like when you look at it as a whole, the power of having all this together and knowing that, hey, my sales, my service, my production, my labor tracking, all my document storage, it's all in one place. And with a click of a finger from my phone, a tablet, a computer, anywhere, I can have access to it. There's real power in that.
Yeah, there really is. There really is. So you're not having, like you said, to track down all this data, put it in a spreadsheet, analyze it, comparing it to all the different data from the different apps and all that stuff. So having it in one place really is convenient. How would you say contractors can ensure their field crews report accurately? And that's not like an insult to them or hurting anyone's egos or feelings or anything.
Yeah, well, that's true. But we've actually found, and this seemed counterintuitive to me when we
Yeah.
created, the app and Dataforma, and then we were tracking it. And especially over the recent years, it's incredibly true. They are happier than they were if they had like paper or something else. And it seems the most common answer as to why is, well, if I just do this on Dataforma, right? It takes me 2 seconds and then I'm done. I don't have the office manager or the project manager calling and yelling because they need something and they don't have access to it. This, it's not like Dataforma syncs up at the end of the day. When they take pictures or they enter a report, it is immediately live to everyone else
Right.
in the mobile app or in the main application. So the guys in the field like it because it's just less hassle back and forth. I mean, it's truly a thing. And then, there's fields in there where, each of these reports are customized. So it's simple and they kind of memorize the steps. So they know, hey, and first I'm going to answer this, then I'm going to answer that. But if there is a step that you've decided, Megan, is really important for your company, you're allowed to asterisk it. And if they try to exit a report without like answering that question, it's going to say, hey, you left required fields undone. Are you
Oh,
sure?
wow.
Yeah, you want to leave. Now here's the tricky part. Again, we fought over this, and I like our solution, and it seems like our contractors do. We didn't make it so that they can't submit that report. We made it just so it tells them, hey, are you sure you want to submit this without this answer? Because the contractors end up saying it's more valuable to me that I have 85% of the answers than
Yeah.
zero because you won't let them. Because if they're exiting, they're exiting, you know?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, the biggest thing is you make it as incredibly simple for them and repetitive. Like no matter where they're taking a picture in the app, it functions the same. Everywhere
Mhm.
they want to add comments, it functions the same. We do have a Spanish version of the app.
Oh,
So
that's awesome.
yeah. So and then we even have like a bunch of our help videos are being done in Spanish now as well.
Amazing.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously that's a big part of our industry.
Yep.
So just make it simple for them, make it comfortable. If they have an issue, it's like, cool, I can go and watch this video. Or
Yep.
we have a member of our customer service staff that her first language was Spanish. So if you want to call in and speak to Glenda, and I've known her since I was 18, so it's fun. But
Awesome.
yeah,
I love it. Okay. Well, that's really cool. I'd also love to get your point of view on how contractors can ensure their field crews are reporting accurately outside of Dataforma? Like, are there any tips and tricks that you all used at your contracting company before Dataforma? This is a curveball.
God, no, because so here's the tip and trick we used. This is real. We had a color-coded Excel doc, and this is just for our service crews. So these were like $550 invoices at the time. Here's how much work went into it. Color-coded Excel file. The old, you've probably never seen them. God bless you, because you're younger than I am. The triplicate forms, the 3 carbon copies. They had
Oh, the yellow paper.
Yep.
Yes.
So they got that. Then we put it into the Excel file, and then we had a whiteboard to try to make sure we didn't lose service tickets. But we did.
Wow.
So, I mean, the answer is really no. I was only a full-time project manager for 2 years. So outside of Dataforma, I didn't learn any tricks. That's why when
Yeah,
Dataforma was created and they
exactly.
eventually offered me a job, I said yes.
Yeah.
So, um,
That's awesome though.
again, I'm sure there's something. I just didn't know of it.
Yeah. Well, I would love for you to kind of talk about how the reporting enhances communication with customers, and how this data format can be a tool in these relationships with customers.
Yeah. So this is a cool one. And again, because I have personal experience. So we have what we call the customer portal. So if you're the contractor, your client goes to your website. We don't care if they know about Dataforma, right? We want you to go to your website. They put in a login. Now they only see what you want them to see, right? So all contractors remember that. They don't see pictures or jobs or whatever that you wouldn't want them to see, and you can select them very easily. They can submit service requests. They can approve like service, like upsell proposals. They can see updates on jobs. You can make any document whatsoever available to them. So that's really where I used it. My last job as a roofing contractor was like a massive State Farm. I mean, like it was like a $6 million job. We were doing the roof and the EFIS and all sorts of stuff.
Wow.
And it was in Charlottesville, Virginia. So I was there all week. And what I would do in that client portal is every day I would take a roof plan and color code where we had torn off the roof, where we had done EFIS, where we had done counter flashing. I would add a bunch of pictures, right? And then I would upload it as a daily update sheet so that the State Farm corporate could see it. And they actually said like, hey man, we love this. Because I think I was 22. Like this little 22-year-old, now we don't have to fly out to Virginia every week. We can just check it online. And really, we've upgraded that a ton because now we have what we call site tags. So actual GPS points on roofs. So you could say, here's exactly where we did this, or here's exactly where the leak is. And with all of these reports, so like daily safety checks, safety incidents, change order from the field, what did we get done today? Every contractor can build those reports in the mobile app. And the guy in the field, they just say yes, no, maybe. You can give them like here's 5 options that you can select from. Pick the one that best matches. So they're always clicking one thing at a time, and they're adding pictures, and that builds a report. So like a true 10-page report of here's everything cool that we did today. And then now you can just send that directly to the client, either from the field or the office can be notified to review it and then send it to the client. So, and that's even really good for OSHA. Let's say OSHA comes and says, hey man, we need to look at every single safety report in the past 6 months.
Yep.
Well, our contractors, they grab it in, I don't know, maybe 13 seconds.
Wow. Wow. And also random question, can they add their company branding to these reports?
Oh yeah. No, yeah. So that's a great one. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So not even just their branding, what font do you like? How many pictures do you like per page?
Yeah.
Right. And then you can even have different reports for different clients. So like invoices are the very typical example.
Yeah.
Client A wants it completely itemized, everything spelled out. Client B just wants to see you charge me $600, right? Yep. So anytime we go to print, we can choose which one we want to print. So, I mean, they can completely customize the way anything prints out of Dataforma. Even if there's a lot of companies, Megan, that have multiple entities. So, like if I'm a user for XYZ roofing company and you're at ABC, but we're actually under the same parent company,
Okay.
Dataforma is smart enough to know that my username wants you to print the XYZ, but your username wants the ABC.
Okay. Wow. Wow. So again, like if a contractor has an HVAC department or they do, gutters as well and siding and all these things, that's awesome. So you can have different branding for different departments.
Yep, exactly.
Incredible. Wow. Okay, well, I'm learning a ton. If anyone out there has questions or comments, please let us know. I did get one. If this will be on demand, it will be. The link will be sent out to everyone so you can watch it back. So Brian, lastly, what are some of the financial benefits of tracking job site productivity? What have some of the returns been that you've seen?
Well, I mean, we talked about it. One, if you can catch a job that's going bad before it goes bad, like that's
Yeah.
huge to be able to save a job, which I mean, it would pay for Dataforma, it would pay for pretty much any CRM you would buy,
Yeah.
saving one job that's going bad. The other thing I talk about that's not always endearing to the controllers that I meet with, but it is to everyone else. I try to stress that accounting systems are incredibly important, right? But
Right.
accounting systems count the money. They don't make the money. The guys in the field are what make the money. Can we get like bids out? Can we win bids? Can we finish those jobs on time or early? That's what actually makes us more money. And then we need the accounting system to make sure that money is being allocated to the correct places. Can we project out with what our cash flow is going to be? All incredibly important. But the goal of Dataforma, because when they created Dataforma, again, I was young, but I was there. So I was 19 when they started buying other generic software programs. And then they went to the big accounting system. So like for the larger contractors, let's say we're over 20, 25 million a year, this becomes a very typical thing. I'm going to look at a high-end Sage or a high-end whatever, really, really nice accounting system that offers all of these modules. And they tell us how, one, the modules are all integrated. They're all integrated, right? Well, a lot of times they've bought that service module as another company and bolted it on. So it's not
Okay.
truly integrated. And
Yeah.
then you're paying big, big money, over $100,000, $200,000 for this system. And they have to spend time customizing it. And then it doesn't really work. And that's the path that our company had gone down before our now president spent 2 years building Dataforma with a programmer from scratch. So we've kind of seen this. Um, again, the accounting systems are amazing, but they don't always do what we need them to do. So we created Dataforma to say, we're not going to replace your accounting system. We want to help the people on the front end do the best job possible so that all of our jobs go as well as they possibly can. And then we'll just transfer that information to your accounting system. So we don't care if it's an API, because we have an open API, which if anyone doesn't know what that means, it just means we, at the back end of Dataforma, we say there's all these pieces of functionality that you can play with in your other system. So if you want an invoice to automatically get created, totally cool. If somebody creates a contact in your Dataforma system and you want to make it create a new contact in that system, go ahead. So we just basically we play well with others.
Nice.
But that's also, I mean, that can be like a high-end, more expensive solution. So for a lot of our contractors, we just say, hey, any information you want us to dump to your accounting system, we can just build an Excel file for like $2,000. And that way, once a week, you say Dataforma, give me the info I want, and then go into your accounting system and it imports all of it. So it's 2 minutes and you're done. So, I mean, there's lots of way to get it there, but yeah, the idea as a contractor is let the guys in the field do their job and do it well, and then
Yep.
let me know if there was a problem instantly so that I can fix it.
Yeah. Absolutely. That is so cool. It's so nice too, that Dataforma plays so well with others, because I know tech stacks are the big thing right now. Everyone has a tech stack, everyone uses a bajillion things, but maybe they just need Dataforma and one other thing, or just Dataforma.
Well, and a
Um,
lot of times, yeah, thank you. Because a lot of times it's fairly accurate. Like we don't do everything, but a lot of
right.
our contractors have pared down to Dataforma and then an estimating system.
Yeah.
Although we do have a small estimating module about to be released.
Oh,
Yeah, and then their accounting system. And
right.
that's a good one too, because it's a good place to say that we were off. We were not very good at playing with others until I guess 4 years ago. And then again, our contractors made it very clear to us, hey, we want you to have this open API, stop being hard-headed. And we said, you're right, no problem. And then boom, we opened it up. And
Nice.
that's what's really cool. I mean, working with all these contractors now, Dataforma probably stopped being our idea like 13 years ago.
I
Yeah,
love it.
that's when it truly had its own new, identity. So it's been a fun ride.
Oh, that's great. Well, this has been a fun ride. I've really enjoyed chatting with you, Brian. If anyone has questions, put them in the chat. We are open to questions now. So, I would like to just kind of summarize the whole conversation, Brian, and kind of go back to the very first question, the importance of job site, um, productivity, and how to get the most accurate job done in the smallest amount of time, I guess, and how summarize how Dataforma can help with that.
Basically, we say send your guys on the job with just this. Just give them a phone, and then we're going to allow you to get all the pertinent information that you need. They can see scope of work, spec details, any important documents that they need to do the job. Hey, here's even like the layout and how we want you to set up how we're gonna go through this roof as we're working on it. They can see all that. They're going to track their hours. They're going to do all of their daily reports. And again, those are customizable. They're going to put in the quantities that was done every single day so you can see it. And then if there's any issues, they're going to let you know. And then when the job is done, and this, we didn't even touch it, but then you have the historical, like for a coatings contractor, the warranty tied to the address. So if we want to
Wow.
go out every year or two or push maintenance, absolutely, we're going to use Dataforma to do that. What type of material did we actually put down? We
Yep.
have the square footage of the roof and all that as well. And then importantly, for those multi-building owners, now we're going to see every single job that we've ever done with them, or
Yeah.
every job that we've ever even bid with them, and what percentage are we getting.
Yeah. Would you say that Dataforma could potentially help a business scale to add coatings, to add metal, other things like that, just by keeping track of that job site productivity?
Oh yeah, I mean, absolutely. So, and that's why we wanted to come on this coatings webinar, because we noticed that some of our contractors were doing this, and then we had, at some of the recent trade shows, we had picked up a few coatings contractors, and they
Yeah.
work just like roofing contractors. So, like a lot of times with residential contractors, you'll see that they do, roof, siding, windows, gutters. Well,
Right.
now commercial contractors like, hey, if I'm in good with a building owner, I should provide these other services, whether directly through my company or maybe I have certain strategic partnerships with
Yep.
other contractors like that. So it's becoming a much bigger theme that we've seen over the past like 3 years.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you, Dataforma, for sponsoring this Coatings Talk, providing such amazing information. And thank you, Brian, for this great talk today.
It was a pleasure. And thank you again for everything you've done at the coffee shops.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Everyone, please go to CoatingsCoffeeShop.com. Dataforma has a directory on there and on rooferscoffeeshop.com so you can learn more, get their contact info, learn about all the different facets of the app and how you could use it to better your business. So, and also, again, this will be on CoatingsCoffeeShop.com within 24 to 48 hours so you can watch it again. Send it to your friends, send it to your grandma. And thank you again, Brian. This has been fabulous.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
Absolutely. Thanks everyone for being here.